My thoughts on this new Astromount that's been produced here by Matthew Armitage. Well, as you can see, I've got it set up in a indoor, obviously, rather indoor, less of the indoor, but it's in one of those mobile obviously tents that I've purchased. I've just about managed to get it in. I mean, it's a bit tall, but then again it's my fault. I asked for it to be this height, to be fair, so we won't go on about that. But what I've had to do is put down some cardboard and some tiles that I had to obviously protect the ground sheet. And I think the first thing that I'll say here with regards to this is when I've had to tie or screw the bolts in, we need a couple of feet at the bottom here, really. Be like you'd find on a vice, otherwise this just goes round and around when you turn it, when you squeeze it. Also suggest as well maybe having perhaps a couple of bubble spirit levels on each leg, so you can sort of see without going up to there every time to see how you are. But that, all that's said and done, it wasn't too much inconvenience, to be honest. Bringing it in, I had massive problems. I had to take these off because these are fixed on with Allen keys. I've had to take these off to get these in, because at the end of the day it was just these bolt feet that are jutta, which were the sort of the straw breaking the camel's back in terms of getting it in. But once I had these off, it wasn't a problem. But I know that Matthew's taken it on board now, and he's going to make it that one of these legs can be taken off at least. But there it is. I mean, the bolt to secure into the mount goes in through there, and you got the nub at the top, so that's quite solid. In fact, I might be using that little gap there to hang off the controller. That's the only real sort of thing I'd say about this really at the moment. Is I'd probably put a couple of locks on each wheel to prevent it from moving around once you have got it where you need it, because I mean some ground could be more sort of level. This certainly isn't level, this ground, and I've had to raise that wheel up there quite considerably. That's what's got a whole ton of cardboard underneath it, and hopefully that will hold steady as we go through the night. I'd suggest a couple of brakes on each of the wheels is what I would suggest. I noticed in these other versions that the one mobile wheel did have one, but I'd suggest maybe having that to lock off each wheel to at least prevent it from rolling back or forward when you've got it where you need it. I like the fact I can move it round though if I'm slightly off north, which is a good thing, because often with the tripod you don't have that freedom. But obviously clearly here it's going to be difficult to do, because obviously I don't really want these wheels being in constant contact with the ground sheet, and also by the same token when I do, it's also I don't want these bolts digging straight in, because this could potentially tear the ground sheet, so I've got to be careful about that too. But otherwise it's the first time we're using an anger. I've lost my wheelie bins that I tend to use to put my bits on, so this time I've got two Nesta tables that I've kind of affixed with bungee clips. I hope that does work. I've tried to knock it off and it doesn't work, but let's see how it holds the night. So anyway, those are my initial thoughts on this mount. But I will say though, Matthew Armitage will build these to your own spec, so if you want it slightly shorter, slightly taller, let him know and he'll build it as you want it. I'm actually very pleased with it so far. Actually, I've got rid of that dreaded tripod, which has meant levelling has been a lot easier. The levelling wasn't too difficult. I mean, there's the, see for yourself. I mean, purists will probably say that's still a bit off, but we'll see how it is later. But anyway, I'm sort of reviewing two things at once here. This dome and the this observatory tent plus this pillar. So but so far so good with the pillar. Yeah, I think, as I said, the only thing he really needs to do, I think, is put a couple of hooks around the end so you can hook things, maybe a torch. I mean, I use a games controller to control this, so somewhere to hook that. It's just attached to a coat hanger. But anyway, I mean, let's see how it goes. I mean, all it needs to do is just hold the hold them out in place. This is an NEQ6 with my weights and my LX10 8-inch, which is quite a heavy setup, so shouldn't really need too much more really. And I have seen this will take some weight. I know some people have been critical about it. It isn't portable. That is to say, once you could throw it into your car easy to go to a star party, unless Matthew could do something about the legs to come off for that purpose. But anyway, for what it is, I think it's going to do a good job. And there's a close-up of the sticker there for you to see as well. Anyway, more on this and how I go with it later on. Cheers.